Winter is coming. Or it's here already, depending on when you watch this video, I don't care. Hello and welcome to an entirely original top 10 list that you won't find anywhere else, because it's December and it's already snowing in Britain. Honest, normally snow levels is the bit where you go, oh, for fuck's sake, why? Or being associated with unfair difficulty or tricky controls. But every now and then there's some wintry levels that feel welcome in the game, either it being a joy to play in or simply being a marvel to witness. So here are my top 10 snow levels in video games, and of course these are my personal favourites, and if you don't think that they're that great then please refer to the first word in the title of this video. Rules of this list are simple. They have to be one per franchise and they have to have snow in it. Crazy, I know! And there's no Cool Mountain in this list because I never really play that game that much, but Fendrana Drifts off Metroid Prime and Ice Cap Zone off Sonic 3 are very worthy mentions. And if you're upset that they're not on the list, then maybe you should, chill. Yes! It's fucking back, innit? Right, let's go! Okay, I know this video is about the top 10 snow levels, but this game is like one big snow level. I couldn't possibly choose any specific segments in this game that are more worthy than other parts. Never Alone is a puzzle platformer that is based on the traditional Inupiaq or Canuck Sayuka, where you play as Nuna, a little girl who befriends an Arctic fox, who you can also control. This game shows all the different faces that wintry weather can bring, from it being a tranquil landscape to a place that can be very treacherous to inhabit. The emphasis on the cultural side of this tale is made present throughout, as you unlock videos where Alaska Native leaders, storytellers and community leaders talk about the history of their heritage. Humility is something that we value, and where that comes from is the idea that you are not the biggest thing in the world. I love its cel-shaded look and the narration. It makes it feel like you're taking part in an interactive version of the tale. And it's about something I knew nothing about upon purchasing the game. And you can play it in co-op as well. And it's available on pretty much all the consoles and tablet and also PC. And the fox is so fucking cute. Oh, look at it. It's just... I did not tell half of what I saw, for I knew I would not be believed. Uncharted 2! It's that opening bit, yeah, take a shot, it's on this list. Come on, it's one of the most memorable opening levels of any game in recent memory. And sure, I didn't get round to playing it up until recently, and I was aware of it because, hey, people won't shut up about it. But that's for very good reasons. You start off waking up with blood on your hands, in a train that's dangling off the side of a cliff, and you don't know what the fuck happened. The most intense tutorial level ever made, probably. Even though it gives you prompts on how to control Nathan as he tries to climb up the wreckage, the game still made me feel tense by its choice of camera angles, a worried sounding musical score, and random shit falling off, making you wonder if Nate's gonna fall off, and the rest of the game was the events leading up to it. Unless you like me and played it way after Uncharted 3 came out, but shit, this is exciting! Once you climb up, the battle doesn't stop there, as you continue to fight through treacherous terrain by attempting to climb through other carriages. Nate is vulnerable here, something we never truly saw in the first game, being injured, having no clue how he got there, or even where he is for that matter. Not bad for the first 10 minutes of the game. Shame it can't be said for the level afterwards though. One of the most hated things in snow levels are the ice physics, not being able to move accurately and everything being a bit trickier. So it's more than welcome when Rayman Origins steps in, takes the concept of ice physics being shit and turning it into a wonderful way from getting from A to B in a graceful manner. The look of the level is just pure joy to look at, with its vibrant colours that the game is notable for. The music glides tropical nuances into the mixture, which reinforces sort of an idyllic scene being presented to the player. You swim in what looks like a fruit punch or a citrusy liquid that would probably sting Rayman's eyes, come to think of it. There's spiky oranges for some reason, talking forks with lemons on their heads, and big, succulent, juicy watermelons that you can bounce off. It's a Peggy 7! Basically, it feels like you're at a tropical frozen paradise that's got its chilled out vibe. And you can go really small as an ability given to you after rescuing one of the fairies, enabling you to float on these parasols and bubbles. It's just a sweet level that feels more like a resort rather than an expedition. In at number 7, it's one of my favourite Zelda dungeons in the whole series that appears in one of my favourite Zelda games. Actually, come to think of it, most of the Zeldas I've played are one of my favourites, so it could be another top 10 I could do. But anyway, Snow Peak Ruins, it's fucking cold! Set high above the treacherous mountains lies a lonely abandoned mansion that acts as the 5th dungeon in Twilight Princess. And I must say, it's one of the prettiest dungeons in Zelda. To be honest, it's not even a dungeon, it's got a fireplace, a kitchen, a swank-ass bedroom, and oh shit! Snow Peak Ruins reflects on the polarising aspects of winter, by how it can be harsh and unforgiving, but at times be cosy and inviting. And as annoying as the enemies can fucking be, they are pretty cool. And that ball and chain can be satisfying to use, especially against these frozen testicles. Well, at least you can beat the crap out of these walls. Yeah, fuck you, Peter! The formula of a standard dungeon is mixed up a bit by you talking to Yetta, who says she knows where to get the big key. But as you explore the mansion, you find food items instead, and you get assaulted by Yetto to make his suit more powerful, which you can refill as many times as you like. One of my favourite things in this level. But I've got a few questions. Who the bloody hell keeps a pumpkin and cheese in a damn treasure chest? And also, why would they locate their bedroom the furthest away from their living room, which is on the other side of a snowfield courtyard with these doggos and whatever the fuck that is? Actually, how did Yetta get up this ladder when we blatantly can't see her arms? Oh, slash! Oh, I missed. This has to be one of my favourite Mario Kart tracks in the entire series. Mount Wario is one of those few non-circuits in Mario Kart 8, and nothing about it screams excitement and the competitive nature of this series is known for. It almost feels like a novelty slide that you'd find at a theme park where you go past multiple attractions whilst racing against your rivals. Even though it's vibrant all round, there are parts of the track where it does have a whiff of realism to it, like going through the cave. One of the things that stands out to me is the music playing in the background as it starts off with a grand introduction, in awe of the madness that's bound to ensue. And because the track isn't a circuit like most, the music can become more structured like a traditional song, with a variation of the theme being played depending on where you are, such as some country sounding violins being introduced as you're traversing your way through the snow-tipped forest. It's just a finely crafted track that brings all sorts of elements and packs tightly into what I feel perfectly captures the thrill and joy that you get from being in the lead, chasing down the guy in front of you, or just having a good time speeding down the plane. Plane? Alpine? What the fuck? Wow, I never thought I'd be talking about this game again, until I was coming up for this list, but whatever. If you're somewhat new to this channel, or you haven't been here before,
which I highly recommend you watch some more content and subscribe if you like what you see.
All the way back in April, a few friends and I did a Let's Play of Until Dawn, and I haven't edited the rest because, yeah. But a lot like Never Alone, there isn't a particular part that stands out for me, but rather the location the game is set in, which happens to be a lonely, empty lodge sitting above the treacherous mountain. Shit, wrong game! Throughout this list, I've noticed that snow levels seem to go into one or two categories: sanctuous and reassuring, or dangerous and isolated. I wonder where Until Dawn goes under. As you may know, Until Dawn takes some inspiration from traditional horror tropes like a knife-wielding maniac, a cabin in the wood, a bunch of teenagers, and so on. Plus, being one of those interactive movie video games, it does remind me of one of my favourite horror films, The Thing, the 1982 remake by John Carpenter, and it kind of reminds me of Alien a little bit too. A great factor about its setting is that it's an active part of the plot as it unravels throughout the game. The forest feels alive with threatening sounds and stranger stuff going on just out of sight, and
oh, hang on. Spoiler alert! Okay.
One big reason why it's on here is the connection to the monsters of this game, the Wendigo. The Wendigo are creatures existing in Algonquian folklore, where they are either cannibalistic humanoids or an evil spirit that can possess people. Algonquian people is an indigenous language group that are mainly populated along the North Atlantic coasts and a large portion of Canada, the kind of places set high up in the mountains and secluded forests. And in some indigenous communities, greed, an intense craving for human flesh, and environmental destruction are seen as a manifestation of a disputed medical term called Wendigo psychosis. So I guess I like the game's setting mainly due to The word levels has become a more loosely used word these days in video games. Sure, you still have platformers, and in most linear games these days they're called chapters or missions, but what a level can be has become an interpretation or just applied to whatever changes the scenery a bit. For me, the Soulsborne series' levels would be the different locations, and whilst Cain has Castle in Bloodborne does offer a beautiful gothic experience with ghostly women, gargoyles, and really interesting lore that happens to be optional from the main game itself, I settled with the latest entry of the series and its Winter Wonderland, Irithyll of the Boreal Valley. It makes its impression on players immediately once they climb out of the catacombs in the previous area to be greeted by one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen in video game. Whilst boss fights and discoveries are great, this view alone for me was the reward, a stunning landscape and an opportunity to sit back and marvel at its tranquility. But as we all know, that won't be the case for long. Its maze-like structure offers a significant leap in difficulty. It's a deserted town that either reminds me of an empty Disneyland resort or Lord Farquaad's castle. But it isn't long before you encounter some new enemies that really pack a punch at you, even in small numbers. These guys scare me the most due to their extremely long-range attacks that can get you from yards away. Oh yeah, then there are these things. Spooky, scary, skeleton, spider, grudge ladies. My favourite. There are ghostly people that you see walk around the place sometimes, which adds an air of mystery to things. Maybe everyone here is dead and there is a dungeon nearby filled with the undead, so I don't know, but this game is really exciting to play through on your first go, especially if you've played the game like me. Basically, you stand around for a bit, wait to make your move, fuck it up, run like hell into unknown territory and hope to find something to help you out with. Or go into the boss's room and do your best to kill them on your first go like I did, as you can see. I lied, I'm shit at Dark Souls. I knew I had to pick a level off one of the Crash Bandicoot games. How couldn't I? Problem is, there's quite a few great snow levels like Unbearable, Snow Go, and Crash Dash. But in Crash 2, there is one, well two, but I have to choose one soon, that stands out to me over the rest. Bear It is a level where it bursts out playful and mischievous fun from the upbeat music being played to the rounds of obstacles that you have to dodge throughout the on-rail stage. One thing I like about these kind of levels is how it introduces a way for the player to avoid an obstacle, starting off with a single jump over a body of cold water, only to be followed by more bodies where you have to navigate through, and then reinforcing that movement by following some Wumpa fruit, but this time moving around these statues. It later on raises the stakes higher by adding in sea lions, killer whales leaping out of the water, and men handling a bar of metal crates. Mind you, I never really got why they were out there in the first place, or what they're really doing with these metal crates. In fact, how do they even get out there? This is essentially a long trench out where I assume is the Antarctic. One of my most loathed levels in the original Crash Bandicoot was the Hog levels, where the controls just didn't feel that responsive, and it crudely became a memory test rather than a reflex exercise. Here, however, the controls are really tight. The bear you're riding, which is the most adorable thing in the fucking game, feels more enjoyable to play with. This is one of the many examples that Crash 2 improved on in nearly every aspect of its level, and when you get it all down, everything just flows together. It just feels like you're in control of a karting getaway scene, where carnage is happening all around the protagonist. And by the way, if you're trying to get the gem and you miss a crate, don't kill yourself by going into the water. It begins to feel a lot longer than it ought to. Actually, how come Crash freezes in the water but the bear doesn't? You know, looking back at all of these games and their wintry moments, it's really got me really festive. Yeah, I know being in Britain it doesn't snow that often, but I think of the majestic beauty of a frosty winter morning in the countryside as the grass glistens in the newborn sunlight, picturing the wildlife cautiously rustle outside to peek what's beyond the horizon.
Winter from The Last of Us!
Yes, that's right, it's another entry on this list where I pick a big chunk of the game as a level.
Pretty good at this top 10 stuff, aren't we?
But this is set really far into the game, so if you don't want to be spoiled about what... Actually, everyone and their mum has talked about this game already, we all know this fucking bit. And if you don't, well, here. Alright, just click and skip the thing. Cool. Right, after a climactic sequence in the previous season, Winter opens to a mystery about the condition of Joel the protagonist. From there on, however, you play as Ellie, hunting down a deer which gives you time to take advantage of the small occasion that there aren't any clickers waiting to bite your face off. Depending on how long it takes for you to track down your prey, you'll have time to take your surroundings as you realise you're the only one there, perhaps still wondering if Joel is still okay. And down the road you meet the ever so lovely David, who has to be one of the creepiest characters in video games. Why is that, you ask? Because he fools you to thinking he's a fellow survivor like you, but turns out to be running a cannibalistic town and wants to, with Ellie.
Joel, wake up, you old fuck!
Oh yeah, he's alive. So you take control of Joel and Ellie in turn when she's captured by the baddies and Joel goes off to look for her. The harsh snowstorms only builds more tension as he tries to escape the clutches of David with next to nothing. This is Ellie's test of survival, her final trial of the things Joel has taught her through the course of the game so far. And with you in control, you're the one undergoing that task as well. There's so much I love about winter, but overall I'll say that the rising hostility of the situation is reflected by the weather itself, and with the season being the most treacherous of all to survive in, raises the stakes even higher for everyone in the game, including the enemies. It's also what I see as the turning point for Joel and Ellie's arcs, as you face off David in a burning building feeling as vulnerable as she is. But defeating him in perhaps one of the most gratifying cutscenes in recent memory, the desperation and fear is still there, the music even trembles at the implied sight of David's remains, the instability of Ellie's actions and mentality.
All is resolved, however, when Joel finally comes in, and I'm not gonna cry! I'm not gonna cry! Fuck you guys! Put number one! Fuck!
So, here we are, number 1 on this list, and we've seen a variety of portrayals about the snow and cold, but one stands above the rest for me.
And it's the first track of Cool Borders 2!
Nah, not really, it's none other but Shadow Moses from the legendary game that is Metal Gear fucking Solid! The hijacked nuclear facility taken over by terrorists threatening the world with Armageddon has become one of the most well-known locations, if not only the PlayStation era, but in video games ever. This setting fits perfectly with the stealth gameplay that the series is known for, set entirely at night, the dead greys and silvers of the walls surrounding you, and that atmospheric soundtrack. I think that's what caught me the most, the music deliberately telling you how risky the whole operation is through its notes. Up until you meet Meryl and Hal, you are completely alone, with the nearest thing to help being potentially thousands of miles away. There's so many little details that are included which makes the place feel like a genuine environment that the characters are roaming about, the soldiers hearing you tap on a nearby wall to distract them, one noticing and investigating the footprints in the snow that you left behind, and something about being set in a cold remote part of the world just makes it more tense, like it was in The Last of Us. Having snow being present, it naturally feels more hard to survive in.
There's just so many great moments in Shadow Moses that I can remember when playing this.
From the opening, to learning to evaluate your surroundings before heading off to that heliport, your fight with a fucking tank as you try to avoid enemy gunfire, the refrigeration container facing a Vulcan Raven, and of course the second fight with Sniper Wolf. All of these either being outside or in a cold temperature elsewhere in the facility. Not only that, but for fan service alone, you come back to it in Metal Gear Solid 4, frozen in time as a painful reminder of how long it has been since the first kind of game, giving you flashbacks to the original game, and giving him a retro face mask, cause, you know, why not? And not to mention the bloody awesome stage in Smash Bros. Brawl where Metal Gear Rex fucking crashes through the bosses to be like,
"What's up, fuckers?"
So that was my top 10 snow levels in video games. Thank you very much for watching this video. Do give it a like and comment down below what your favourite snow levels are as well. Goes without saying, but I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and hopefully I'll have a video up tomorrow as well, okay? Alright, bye!